If we don't have a joyful life, full of peace and happiness.
So President Carter underwent drainage of a subdural hematoma. This is an operation very commonly performed by neurosurgeons to relieve pressure on the brain being caused by a blood clot.
It's good to see you all. Contrary to what Jan just said, I'm going to ask for.
So it is a serious condition anytime the brain is compressed. Fortunately, in this situation, this type of blood clot is treatable by a relatively small operation. The way this operation is performed is that a small incision is made in the skin, and we use a high-speed drill to enter the cranial compartment. The coverings of the brain are opened, and commonly, right after opening the coverings of the brain, fluid will come out. That blood clot will be released, and it's often under high pressure.
He gives us a life. God gives us another very important gift.
If this operation is performed and there are no complications, which it sounds like there weren't, we would expect the patient to go home from an operation like this within a couple of days. That said, in an elderly patient with medical comorbidities such as a history of falls and a history of cancer, the recovery from a blood clot like this and the operation that you need to treat it can take more than a couple of days, and sometimes patients require a period of rehabilitation in order to return home and return to their standard activities. All that President Carter has been through with all of his medical problems, including the hip fracture and multiple falls, a history of melanoma that had spread to the brain, all of those factors can impact the ability to recover after an injury like this in an operation that you have to have in response to the injury. So we expect a bit more of a delayed recovery given all of the things that he's got on his plate right now.
You need to be
There's a book to buy.
Yeah.
So it's really the space between the surface of the brain and the coverings of the brain that form that subdural space where blood clot can accumulate. So this isn't really damage to the brain itself. It is bleeding occurring in a compartment that's just adjacent to the brain. What causes the brain dysfunction is that sometimes as the blood accumulates, pressure can build up on the surface of the brain. And that compression can actually change the function of the brain. It can increase the risk of seizures and increase the risk of neurologic deficit, things like difficulty speaking, difficulty with movement, in some cases difficulty with cognition as well.
And further straight out this way.